Good afternoon to you. Mark Suttoth, HurricaneTrack.com here Monday now, January 22nd, 2024. Nice graphic there. Did it myself. No AI. Old Photoshop there. Just dragging the letters down, the letter artwork using, I don't know what that's like, the smudge tool to illustrate the big thaw that's coming. Temperature anomalies are going to be running above normal in just a few days. We got to get through today. There's a big ice storm affecting parts of the country's midsection. And then things are going to start to warm up in a big way. We're going to get into February before too long. We are now in the last third of January. Hey, I can count. And we'll look ahead a little bit to February. And, of course, more and more emphasis now gradually will be placed on the upcoming hurricane season as we look at the puzzle pieces. Some of them very obvious puzzle pieces that are starting to come into focus a little bit more. We're going to look at that as we progress. All right? Good to have you with me. Let's get going. First, National Weather Service homepage, a good place to start. These areas through here, inclement weather related to winter, also up here in parts of, well, near the Pacific Northwest, and of course along the Sierra out west. Just a little bit of overall wintry precip there, but this is the real mess through here. Seeing lots of video on social media of people driving and sliding and crashing. And I just wonder, like, why didn't you just stay home? I know some people have to drive, I guess, but when you have ice, and just look at this here. I do not know Brett personally, but I saw this on the For You part of Twitter, and I thought that's a pretty good illustration there, especially that Brett measured it, and we get an idea with the little branch in there how thick that ice is. Yuck. And this is in Moore, Oklahoma. I was just through there the other day, or at least a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, when I was traveling to Kansas for additional cold weather and blizzard coverage. Now it's ice, and that is no joke. Be careful out there, folks. You can't view my videos if you're 6 feet under. Hey, that's a good YouTube tagline. That's mine. You can't have it. But seriously, you got to be careful out there. Yuck. All right? Then we've got the rain. This is Harris County Flood Control District, their flood mapping system. I'm going to refresh it. I assume it refreshes dynamically, but I'm just going to refresh it myself. These are some of the rainfall totals that they have seen in the greater Houston area. Quite the network of gauges along the Buffalo Bayou, Maids Creek, all sorts of, what is that, what's the oak one? It's been a while since I've been to the Houston area. The bottom line is Houston is very vascular, so to speak, in terms of water, to use a medical term. A lot of hydrologic problems can be had. And you can see some of these totals now getting on up there, a little over 2 inches. Not enough to cause major flooding. And if we go over here to the channel status, most of them are still doing pretty well. And I know some of these areas really well myself. Now this one, this is over at South Maid Creek, and I don't know why we have the exclamation point. Let's take a look at it. Oh, I see. It is coming up quite a bit. That's why. Action, right? I've been there for a few flood events over my career, most notably, of course, Harvey in 2017. But the flooding, in South Maid Creek coming up, or at least the creek itself is starting to fill, not quite flooded yet. But this just gives you an idea of what's happening across the area. Now, most everything else is green. I don't see any of these yellow triangles with an exclamation point in it, which is a good thing. Fox Weather's Robert Ray, of course, reporting from the Houston area as well. And it's not going to be too bad down there overall. Kind of a nuisance. You do have this heavy band coming through, a little bit of embedded lightning there on the south and west sides, way away from Houston proper. But it's a stormy day. This was modeled well in the guidance. You remember last week's update. What did I do it on Wednesday or something like that? I showed this. Thank you, Windows, over there. I showed this. This tells me when my internet connection dropped on my old Vio. Anyhow, dings and sounds notwithstanding, trying to interrupt me. A pretty good area of rain, but again, it'll be moving out quickly enough so that we can avoid any major problems. And hopefully Jeff Lindner, the hero of Houston, as I like to refer to him, how much he helped during Harvey, these should stay green mostly. But stay, on top of it. A lot of people live in the Houston area, millions, and you got to be watching it out there on those roads. The roads aren't frozen, but they are slick, and they could become flooded. And keep an eye out over here near Katy, in the Barker Cypress area. There's an elementary school not far from this location. Yep, Maid Creek Elementary. South Maid Creek here at Greenhouse could flood in the coming hours. So I'll put a link to this, by the way, in today's description in case you want to bookmark it. It's pretty cool, pretty helpful. All right, so on to the warm-up. I teased it with this over here, the big thaw. Well, our friend John up here talking about it with a nice graphic of what's coming, anomalies in the atmosphere. We have all kinds of pressure anomalies, temperature anomalies, precipitation anomalies, and in this case, I should just go over and turn the VIO off. That's annoying. I don't know what it's doing. Ghost in the machine, maybe. I guess you can hear it through my microphone here. But anyway, it is getting ready to get warm again in the lower 48 because of the way the atmosphere is behaving with an extended Pacific jet. That'll help things basically be zonal, is one way to look at it, going across instead of coming zonal, like longitudinally out of Canada in the Northwest Territories that dumps all that Arctic air into the lower 48. That's not going to be able to happen in the coming days. So we're going to be looking at areas that are 20 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal over the next several days. So that's going to be interesting to see. But there's always a compare and contrast situation. Eric Webb, our good friend Eric Webb, says, you know, it might not be as simple as that. This particular version of the Pacific Jet extension could undercut enough, as he talks about in his post here. Will drop me out and I'll just read it to you. That while yes, the Pacific Jet is extending here, and we do have a Pacific trough regime that favors warmth over North America, unlike the last one, and it was well modeled, and that was in December, the Pacific Jet is shifting more equatorward, try to say that word, this time around. And with an equatorward shifted Pacific Jet, you run the risk of the undercutting of the Canadian ridge over the eastern U.S., and of course any would-be torch, as people like to say, in other words, warmth. And also as the Canadian ridge progresses eastward, there may be opportunities for cold air damming, especially east of the Appalachians. That's pretty much how you get it. Those events could sneak up on you in the medium range. So it's just something to look at. We'll stay on top of it, but for now, the overall pattern suggests a fairly warm pattern coming up, which is good. And we can see that reflected here. This is what it looks like today. These are your 2-meter temperature anomalies in degrees Celsius, and it is definitely starting to warm relative to average up here in southeast and eastern Canada, but still pretty cold where the ice storm is happening, warming up a little bit out west. But watch what happens if we move this forward through time. Look at all those reds in there. Yep, those are all anomalies, some of them, and we're finally this time on the positive side. Some people like winter. Hey, I like it when it comes in little bursts here and there, but then I like it to warm up. I can go outside, I can do fun stuff outdoors, work on projects, whatever. But winter can be interesting too, of course. But yeah, over the next week, pretty big warm up for the lower 48. See, we lose all that. That's where we came from. And this is where we're going with those temperature anomalies. Very, very warm pattern. But it's also going to be wet. And I talked about that several days ago. Let's just go back to this. That's the easiest way for me to do it. There's our rainfall right now in eastern Texas and vicinity. And then more moisture is coming through. So these areas through here that have been in drought lately, that's going to get a big dent put into it. The drought situation, that is, because of all this rain that's coming. And it could start to add up. So just be mindful of that. There could be some rises on the Atchafalaya River Basin area, the Trinity, the Sabine. You know, just got to watch this stuff. That's a lot of rain coming in short order as these systems come across. But you notice a lot more green and different colors of rain shading here, as Dr. Cowan has it labeled. Heavier rain, heavier precip, but not much frozen. Not much pink, not much blue, not much dark blue over the next week or so. And that's really all we need to look out is about a week. After that, too much chaos. Nice fat ridge setting up right there. See that? That's interesting. And that gave us a nice cold morning here at my homestead, but this is going to slide off into the Atlantic. The return flow is going to come around, and we're going to got a nice big warm up coming for a good deal of the lower 48, especially east of the Rockies. Now, let's switch over, and this is still related to current weather, but also as we start to look ahead. We are, after all, HurricaneTrack. That's what the logo's for. Hurricane season closer than you think. Time just seems to move faster the older we get, the more stuff that's going on. Everything happening in the world, from politics to sports and weather and your personal lives. Yes, time just goes tickety-tickety-tock very fast. And so before you know it, it'll be June, and we're going to really need to talk about this. So what do we look for between now and June? I like to look at these puzzle pieces here, as I like to call them, and they help us to understand what's happening now and these hold keys to the future. Our El Nino here in the Eastern Pacific, the Equatorial Pacific, generally speaking, in the Central Pacific, is starting to fade. We are losing these positive anomalies here. They're starting to back off. In the same time period, we've got this horseshoe-shaped warm anomaly in the Atlantic that's been there since last year, and it is very prevalent, very strong, if you will, off the coast of Africa, up here in the northeast Atlantic, off the coast of the Canary Islands, Morocco, the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and Portugal. All right, so that is a telltale sign for a busy hurricane season. However, it's only January 21st on this map. It's always a day behind. What will this look like August 21st? Well, a lot of the guidance does suggest that this will strengthen, this will transition to this color, blue, and we will have a La Nina. What would get us there? Well, we can look at the subsurface. There is a lot of subsurface cold anomalies water waiting. And some of these gradations here, if you just look at the gradient, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we don't count the light blue. That's, to me, just kind of neutral. So 1, 2, 3, 4, -4 Celsius in a pretty large area, in a larger area of -3, and we're starting to chisel it away over here on the eastern side of the big warm blob. That's our El Nino right there. Basically, this is a slice right through here, looking in the vertical. If you just pulled that up and looked at it cross-section wise, that's what you would get. And we're going to lose all this. This is going to fade away, and we're going to head towards neutral probably by the late spring, and then more likely than not, a La Nina by the peak of hurricane season. We can see that reflected here in some of the guidance. This is just one piece, but this is the CFS V2. It's already started. We're already going to go downhill, so to speak, towards La Nina. And the peak of hurricane season, of course, is in this time frame right through here. The El Nino won't be around this time to do whatever it does. Last year, it hopefully kept things, from getting too out of control. We had a busy season regardless. And I think without that this year and the very warm Atlantic in place, it could be a different story. And this is remarkable, too. I tweeted this earlier, posted a picture, just took a picture of the computer monitor there. And I was like really surprised. That is a rapid rise of the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index, the difference between the pressures in Tahiti. Ever been to Tahiti? I haven't. Would love to one day after I retire, right? And Darwin in Australia. Haven't been there either. I might go there, but it seems like everything there that has a heartbeat is trying to kill you, so we'll see. Anyhow, this SOI situation, literally a barometer of what's happening, tells us when you get a strong positive SOI, the atmosphere is just not conducive for El Nino. This is one that is moving quickly towards a La Nina pattern, but you got to get the atmosphere and the ocean to all couple and everything will line up. We're going to get strong easterly winds in the Pacific. That'll start to happen. It's just the giant wheel is starting to turn. And when you see the SOI doing this, I mean, look, our 30-day is getting close to 6.5. And, we went from -3 in December, so that's about a 9-point jump in the 30-day. Even our 90-day is out of El Nino territory, and the contributor for today, they do these daily, is just about 1, basically. And you can see the overall, again, if your stocks look like that, that's good, right? The SOI, when it does that, it tells us the weather is going to be changing, and changing towards not El Nino, probably towards La Nina. So we shall see. All right, before I let you go, I was going through my box. I still have 9. I don't have all 9 of them, but I got a few of them here. 9 calendars. Look, I know it's almost the end of January, but the feedback about our first wall calendar has been very positive. It's loaded with pictures from our history. You know, I go out to the monsoon each year. I don't want to show all the pictures. Got to leave some for you to discover yourself. And then stuff like, let's see what we pop up here. The very first time I went up to New England back in 2014, and I saw a sign up there in Massachusetts that said thickly settled. What's the story behind all of those? We'll get the calendar and you can find out. We still have 11 months left, so I'm pitching it to you. I want to get these out of here. They're no good sitting in my office collecting dust in the box. I'll put a link in the description if you want to buy one. Only $20, and that includes the shipping. It's not extra. $20, I'll send it to you. I'll even put a little note in there for you and tell you thank you with this Sharpie right here. I really do. Some people fake that and they print their signature. You know, come on, I'm not that famous where I have to do that. But yeah, it would be nice if you want to get one. I'd love to send it to you. So check out the link in today's description and get your calendar soon. All right? So that's it. The big thaw. Enjoy it. I'm going to be working on some stuff in the garage, cleaning equipment, garage/HurricaneTrack lab, and getting out and riding the bike and all sorts of stuff. And we'll be ready for February and see what happens then. All right? Anyway, that's it from me for today. From all of us at Hurricane Track to you, this is for you. I am Mark Sutter. Thank you for watching. Let's try again next Monday.